All right, let's dive into something really fun today.
Sounds good.
What did people actually think about Avengers Endgame?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We've got a whole stack of user reviews here from IMDb,
Right.
some rave reviews,
Right.
some not so much.
Interesting.
Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to see if we can get a sense of what worked, what maybe didn't,
Uh-huh.
and ultimately what this movie meant to the people who saw it years later.
You know, what's really cool here is we're not just looking at initial reactions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we're talking about how people's opinions of this movie, how they've evolved over time.
Okay.
So think of it like a time lapse of opinions about this movie
I like that.
and how it's sort of settled into the collective cultural memory.
Okay, so to set the stage, even years later, Endgame was a pretty big deal, right?
Huge.
We're not talking about some obscure indie film here.
Absolutely not. This was a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
And the reviews really did reflect that.
Okay.
You get everything from 1 out of 10 to 10 out of 10, which in itself is a pretty interesting story.
Yeah.
But what's really striking is that the overall trend is very positive.
Okay.
Lots of reviewers use words like, epic, unforgettable, even masterpiece
Right.
to describe their experience.
So lots of love for Endgame, but no movie is universally adored.
True.
So what were some of the criticisms that popped up in these reviews?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
While lots of people applauded Endgame as a fitting finale to the whole Infinity Saga,
Right.
some others felt like it stumbled in a few areas.
Interesting.
One of the things that comes up a lot is the pacing.
Okay.
Some viewers thought that first hour,
Yeah.
which, grapples with the aftermath of Thanos' snap,
All right.
it was a little bit slow.
Hold on. I remember that first hour being an emotional gut punch. Like I needed to take a break to even process it all.
Right, and that's what makes it so interesting to look back at these reviews.
Yeah.
It highlights how subjective film really is.
Right.
What might feel like a really necessary emotional buildup to one person
Yeah.
could feel like a drag to someone else.
Totally.
It all comes down to individual preferences and expectations.
Okay. So different strokes for different folks.
Really.
What other criticisms did you see?
Well, the time travel element of the plot.
Oh, yeah.
That was another point of contention.
Okay.
Some people praised it for being ingenious and creative.
Right.
Others felt like it was convoluted.
Yeah.
Maybe even created some logical inconsistencies that left them kind of scratching their heads.
Yeah, the time travel thing definitely ignited some pretty heated debates online.
Oh, yeah.
Some people thought it cheapened the stakes,
Totally.
while others were applauding the ambition of it.
Right. And that's what's fascinating when you dig a little deeper into that.
Yeah.
The folks who didn't really like the time travel,
Yeah.
they seem to really crave a more logically rigorous approach.
Oh, interesting.
Even in a superhero movie, it suggests that, people really want there to be an internal consistency,
Okay.
even within fictional worlds, no matter how fantastical they might be.
It's like they're saying, okay, you can bend the rules of reality,
Yeah.
but at least make the rules clear.
Precisely. And that speaks to the level of engagement that Endgame got from people.
Yeah.
It wasn't just mindless entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It made people really think and analyze and debate.
It sounds like even with this whole spectrum of reactions,
Yeah.
one of the things that comes up again and again is that Endgame was more than just another superhero flick.
Definitely.
It felt like the closing chapter of a beloved book.
I think so.
Why do you think that is?
Well, think about it. This wasn't just a standalone movie.
Right.
It was the culmination of over a decade of storytelling.
Yeah.
22 films, meticulously crafted.
It's a lot.
It carried so much weight.
Right.
The expectations of millions of fans around the world.
Right.
And for many, it really delivered on that promise.
Yeah. So it wasn't just about what we saw on screen.
Right.
It was about the whole journey,
Right.
the shared experience that audiences had invested in for years.
Exactly. And Endgame tapped into something very powerful.
What's that?
This sense of communal storytelling
Okay.
that really transcended the boundaries of, traditional cinema.
All right, I'm ready to dive into some of these reviews.
Me too.
Let's see what people had to say.
Let's do it. All right, so let's look at some of these reviews, see what we can find.
Yep.
I've got one here from the Taijiro.
Okay.
It's titled, "It Ended Where It Started,"
Okay.
and they gave it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
And it's just overflowing with emotion.
I love those passionate reviews.
Yeah.
The ones that just gush about the movie.
Yeah, they really just loved it.
So what did the Taijiro have to say?
Well, they talk about Endgame as like the end of the Marvel era.
Okay.
And they express hope that future Avengers movies will, kind of recapture that same magic. But what really stood out to me was how they described the emotional impact.
Okay.
They said,
Hmm.
so many emotions, epic characters, actors. It's impossible to describe with words. You have to see it.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's like trying to explain your favorite song to someone who's never heard it.
Totally.
Words just don't do it justice.
It's true. It's that ineffable quality of art
Right.
that just transcends language.
Yeah.
You know, it's about how the experience makes you feel.
Yeah.
The memories it etches into your mind.
So we've got the superfan who was clearly blown away by the film.
For sure.
What about someone who wasn't so impressed?
Hey.
Did anyone actually dislike this movie?
Well, dislike might be a strong word.
Yeah.
But I have a review here that gave it 6 out of 10.
Okay. That's not terrible.
It's from View Wand Review. And the title is Solemn and Subdued.
Ooh, that title does not scream blockbuster hit.
Right.
What did they have to say?
Well, they actually start by acknowledging the massive hype around the movie. Everyone was so eager to see how Marvel would wrap up this whole saga.
Yeah.
But they described the movie as almost like a decompression from Infinity War.
Interesting.
Said, if Infinity War started with a bang and ended with a bang, Endgame was a long, slow exhale.
So maybe that slower pace some viewers felt wasn't just in the first hour.
It's possible.
What you called a necessary emotional buildup.
Sure.
They might have seen it as just a lack of momentum.
It's a matter of perspective, you know.
Okay.
And this reviewer definitely felt that the tone was too subdued.
Okay.
They said it lacked the energy and humor of Infinity War.
Interesting.
They even said that the hero moments, which should be exhilarating,
Yeah.
felt kind of dark and lifeless.
Wow. That's such a contrast from the last review.
Yeah, pretty different.
I guess that's the beauty of art, right?
Absolutely.
It's all open to interpretation.
Totally.
What resonates with one person might fall flat for another.
Yeah, it's a great reminder
Right.
that even with a movie as widely praised as Endgame, there's no single right way to experience it.
Speaking of different interpretations, didn't we say the time travel element was kind of divisive?
It was.
Did any of the reviews actually get into that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Here's one. Let's see. It's from B. Harrison.
Okay.
It's called Forget Captain Marvel. Meet the Rat.
All right. That title alone deserves an award.
I know, right?
All right, so what's the rat all about?
So this reviewer wasn't completely sold on the whole time travel thing.
Yeah.
They specifically call out the scene where Ant-Man accidentally returns from the quantum realm thanks to a rat.
Yeah.
And they call it lazy writing.
You know, now that you mention it, that scene did feel a little convenient.
Right.
Like the writers just needed a quick way to get Ant-Man back in the game.
That's exactly what this reviewer thought.
Okay.
They said the movie kind of glosses over the complexities of time travel
Okay.
and creates more paradoxes than it resolves.
So while some viewers were happy to suspend their disbelief
For sure.
and just enjoy the ride, others wanted the movie to take the implications of time travel a little more seriously.
A little more rigorously.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want it to be more thought-provoking.
It's like they're saying, don't insult our intelligence.
Yeah.
We're here for the spectacle.
Totally.
But we also want a story that makes sense.
And here's the kicker.
What's that?
Even with all these criticisms,
Yeah.
the reviewer still gave Endgame a 7 out of 10.
So they recognized the flaws, but still found a lot to enjoy.
Yeah, I think so.
That's interesting.
It shows how a movie can have shortcomings
Okay.
and still be a satisfying experience.
Right.
It really comes down to weighing those flaws
Yeah.
against the elements that worked well.
Did anyone else have strong feelings about the time travel?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I have one here
Okay.
that offers a bit of a more nuanced perspective
All right.
on this whole time travel debate.
Yeah.
This is from Mickey the Champ.
Okay.
It's titled The Epic Conclusion.
Okay.
Now, it's a 6 out of 10.
Okay, so not a glowing endorsement.
Not the highest,
Okay.
but it's got some pretty insightful observations.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So this reviewer starts by acknowledging the challenge of following up Infinity War
Yeah.
and giving a satisfying conclusion.
Right, the pressure was on
Big time, yeah.
to deliver on that promise,
Right.
to tie everything together
Totally.
after investing so much time.
Exactly.
Okay, so what did they think?
Well, they describe Endgame as the victory lap of movies.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It really
Wow.
captures that feeling of nostalgia,
For sure.
that sense of closure that a lot of viewers felt.
Right. It was like saying goodbye to old friends.
Yeah.
But then they point out some things that didn't quite work for them.
Okay, what didn't they like?
Well, they felt that the time travel was dumb and convenient,
Okay.
and that it ultimately diminishes the stakes.
Right. Like, if you can just hop in a time machine and fix any problem,
Exactly.
then does anything really matter?
It's a valid point. This reviewer also criticized the way certain characters were handled,
Okay.
particularly Captain America and Hulk,
Okay.
saying that their arcs felt a little unsatisfying.
So even with a film as ambitious and well-crafted as Endgame,
It's true.
there are going to be some elements that don't resonate with everyone.
Absolutely.
It's impossible to please everybody all the time.
Can't please everyone.
But I think what's interesting here
Yeah.
is that even with those criticisms,
Right.
this reviewer still recognizes the film's epic qualities.
I think so.
They actually praise the final battle as pure force and entertainment.
That's great.
And they recognize how emotional certain scenes are.
Yeah, it's a balanced perspective.
It's like they're saying, look, I see what you're trying to do here,
Yeah,
and I respect the effort, even if it didn't totally land for me.
that's a great way to put it.
Okay, did you see any reviews that focused on the emotional impact of the movie?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good.
Because we talked a lot about plot and pacing, but this movie was a roller coaster of feelings.
Oh, totally.
Okay, this one, I think you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
It's from Incalia.
Okay.
And the title is simply Titanic Who? I Haven't Cried More in a Movie.
Okay, wow.
That's saying something.
That is a bold statement. I'm
That-
guessing they were a big Tony Stark fan? Okay.
They describe Endgame as having so many sad scenes.
Okay.
And they say they could never imagine anyone in their places.
It's easy to get caught up in the spectacle of these superhero films,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's the actors that really bring the heart to the characters,
It's
the humanity.
Totally.
And this reviewer clearly felt that.
Oh, yeah.
They even mention how well the movie balanced the humor and the emotion.
That's a hard thing to do.
Right, especially in a movie with such high stakes.
For sure.
The fate of the universe
Exactly.
hanging in the balance.
It speaks to the skill of the filmmakers, for sure.
Yeah.
That even amidst all the battles
Right.
and the threats and the destruction,
Yeah.
it's the human moments that resonate the most.
So Endgame managed to be both this visual feast
Right.
and this gut-wrenching emotional experience.
I think this reviewer's reaction sums that up perfectly.
It's amazing how many of these reviews mentioned crying.
It really is.
It seems like Endgame just tapped into this collective well of emotion.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe it even provided a cathartic release for some viewers.
That's a good point.
Okay, let's see what else we have.
Okay.
Do you have one that focuses on a specific character arc or theme?
Let me see.
Okay.
I've got one here that's short,
Yeah.
but pretty powerful.
Okay.
It's from F533AB.
Okay.
It's simply titled, That's Not Fair to Thor.
Thor.
Yeah.
His transformation in this movie was
Right.
definitely something people talked about.
It was a big change for him.
Yeah.
And it's controversial.
So what did this reviewer think?
Well, we don't get a ton of detail.
Okay.
It's one of those shorter reviews that just kind of states an opinion.
It's like a little snapshot
Yeah.
of the bigger debate
Yeah, I think you're right.
about Thor's character arc.
For sure.
Some people felt like his journey was a betrayal of the character.
Yeah, they didn't like it.
And others were embracing his vulnerability.
His growth.
Yeah.
And it shows, that there's no one right way to interpret a character's journey.
Right.
What feels authentic to one viewer might feel totally different to another.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
Got a review that takes a more technical angle,
Yeah.
maybe talking about the special effects or something like that.
I think I've got one.
Okay.
It's from Paul Haakonsen.
Okay.
It's called Visually Great, but not an overly thrilling or exciting movie.
I'm sensing a bit of a paradox there.
A little bit.
Okay.
So this reviewer actually admits that they're not a huge superhero fan,
All right.
but they enjoy the movies
Okay.
for their visual spectacle.
Right, for the popcorn factor.
For sure. And they were really impressed with the visuals.
Okay.
They described them as phenomenally stunning
Wow, high praise.
and said they carry the superhero movies quite a long way down the road.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
They're able to appreciate the visuals
Yeah,
without necessarily being all that invested in the story.
totally.
Yeah.
It shows how people approach films with different priorities.
Yeah.
Some people really care about plot and character.
Right.
Other people are more drawn to the technical stuff.
Okay, so they loved the visuals,
Y'all did.
but they only gave the movie a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
So what else didn't they like?
Well, they found the plot a little predictable.
Okay.
They thought the time travel was downright idiotic
Okay.
and they felt that some of the dialogue was too corny.
Okay.
Like it was aimed at a younger audience.
So even though they were wowed by the spectacle, they were looking for something a little bit more sophisticated.
They wanted more nuance. They wanted something that went beyond the usual superhero stuff.
It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
can a superhero film appeal to both diehard fans
Right.
and people who are looking for a more mature storyline?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Okay, let's hear from another viewer.
All right.
Got a review that takes a totally different perspective.
Let's see.
Okay,
I've got one here from TX Mike.
great.
It's called A Continuation of Infinity War. Thanos has to be dealt with, and it takes all Avengers.
That is a very straightforward title.
It gets right to the point.
Okay, so what's interesting about this one?
It's the casual, almost conversational tone.
Okay.
They mention watching it on DVD with their wife,
Oh, cool.
breaking it up over 2 nights.
Okay.
Because, they say, they just can't watch a 3-hour movie in one sitting after steak and wine.
That's great. I love that.
It's relatable.
Right. It reminds us that there are real people
Totally.
behind these reviews.
With their own lives and routines.
Yeah, their own movie watching habits.
It just adds a layer of humanity to the critique, you know?
It does.
It's not just data, it's personal experiences.
Okay, so they liked that they could break it up over a couple of nights.
Yeah.
What else did they say?
They praise the characterizations
Okay.
and the inventiveness.
Okay.
But they admit to finding the CGI a little overwhelming.
Okay.
They describe the battle scenes as audio and video noise.
So they acknowledged the spectacle,
Right.
but it wasn't really what resonated with them.
It wasn't their favorite part.
What did they connect with then?
It seems like they were more drawn to the quieter moments,
Okay.
the character interactions,
Right.
the emotional parts of the story.
Okay.
And I think that really underscores the fact that different people
Yeah.
have different thresholds for that kind of sensory overload.
Totally.
What one person finds really exciting,
Yeah.
another person might find exhausting.
Okay. This has been great. We're getting to the end of the segment.
Okay.
I want to hear one last review. One that really sums up the whole Endgame experience.
Okay.
Do you have one like that?
I think I do, yeah.
All right.
This is from KUW7R1.
Okay.
It's called An Unforgettable Experience.
Okay.
10 out of 10.
Wow.
Reads like a love letter to the film.
I love those heartfelt tributes.
Me too.
Okay, so what makes this one stand out?
Well, they use a lot of the words we've already seen.
Okay.
Epic,
Mm.
emotional,
Right.
legendary.
Yeah.
But what really makes this one different is how they connect those qualities to moments in the film.
Okay.
The final battle,
Right.
Tony Stark's sacrifice,
Yeah.
finally saying, Avengers assemble.
Oh, man, chills.
Right.
Every time.
And this reviewer captures that feeling perfectly.
Okay.
They write, every hero gets their moment, making it the most satisfying movie ever.
It's like they're acknowledging the culmination of years of character development.
It is, yeah.
Each hero's journey led to that perfect moment.
Absolutely.
And they said that Endgame is not just a movie, it's history.
Wow.
What do you think they mean by that?
I think it gets at how Endgame went beyond your typical superhero movie.
Okay.
It was this cultural event
Yeah.
that connected millions of people around the world.
So we've gone through all these reviews.
We have.
What's the most significant takeaway for you?
You know what strikes me the most?
Yeah.
Is how incredibly diverse the responses are.
Okay.
Even years later,
Yeah.
people are still talking about this movie.
Right.
They have all sorts of opinions about it.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the film's power
Right.
to resonate with people on all these different levels.
We've heard everything from tears of joy
We have.
to complaints about time travel paradoxes.
It's true.
It's clear that Endgame wasn't just a movie.
It was a cultural phenomenon.
It was a phenomenon, and I think it deserves even further exploration.
I agree.
Now that we've seen all these individual perspectives,
Right.
I think we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What are the broader implications of Endgame's impact?
I'm ready.
How did it change the landscape of superhero movies?
Right.
And what does it tell us about how audiences are connecting with these huge franchises?
Those are some great questions.
I think our listeners might need a minute to process all of this.
They might.
So we'll be back in a flash to wrap up this deep dive on Avengers Endgame.
Okay, so we've made it through all those Endgame reviews.
Yeah, what a journey.
From the tear-jerking moments
Right?
to those nitpicky critiques about time travel and rats. What a ride.
Really shows how powerful film can be.
Right.
To evoke such a wide range of reactions. Even years later.
It definitely wasn't just a movie.
No,
It wasn't an experience.
a cultural milestone for sure.
But now that things have calmed down a bit,
Yeah.
what are some of the bigger questions these reviews raise?
Well, one thing that really stuck with me
Okay.
was this whole debate about fan service versus actual storytelling. Right, some people loved the callbacks.
Oh, yeah.
All the little Easter eggs.
Totally.
Others felt like they were just too much.
Yeah, maybe a little distracting.
Yeah, it's tough to get that balance right.
It is.
How do you reward the loyal fans
Right.
without alienating everyone else?
And without sacrificing the story.
Exactly.
Why do you think that debate was so strong with this movie?
That's a good question.
Well, I think it has to do with,
Okay.
Endgame being the end of this huge saga.
Right. Over a decade of storytelling.
For a lot of people, these characters felt like friends.
Yeah, I get that.
Like they'd been on this journey together.
Yeah.
And so all those little callbacks,
Yeah.
they were like inside jokes.
Right, like little winks.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
people who'd been there from the beginning.
But for the folks who weren't as familiar with all the movies,
Yeah.
they might have felt a little left out.
Yeah, like they were missing something.
It's almost like those little references.
Yeah.
They functioned as currency, in a way.
Oh, interesting.
They strengthened the bond between the fans and the franchise.
It makes you think about the future of these big franchises, right?
It does.
As these worlds get more and more complex,
Right.
how do you keep the old fans happy
Yeah.
while also bringing in new people?
It's a real challenge.
It's a challenge that goes beyond just the MCU, too.
True.
You see it with Star Wars.
Game of Thrones.
All of them.
Finding that sweet spot
Right.
where nostalgia adds to the story,
Yeah,
but doesn't completely take over.
that's the key.
Another thing I was thinking about
Yeah.
is how Endgame impacted superhero movies as a whole.
Oh, interesting.
Did it provide a satisfying ending,
Right.
or did it leave people wanting more?
Good question.
I mean, no post-credit scene.
That was pretty definitive.
Yeah, like a full stop.
But the MCU's still going.
Yeah?
So what does that mean?
What did the reviewers think?
Well, it was a mix of finality and anticipation.
Okay, I can see that.
A lot of people felt a sense of closure.
But they were also excited to see what's next.
It's like saying goodbye to one chapter,
Yeah.
but knowing there are more adventures to come.
That's a great way to put it.
Thinking back on all those reviews,
Yeah.
I'm struck by how emotional they were.
Me too.
It wasn't just about, dissecting the plot or the special effects. It
Wow.
was about something deeper.
A shared experience.
Yeah, a deeply personal one.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes Endgame's legacy so special.
Right.
It reminds us that these movies,
Yeah.
they can be more than just entertainment.
Okay.
They can deal with some pretty big themes.
Loss, hope, sacrifice.
Yeah, all of that.
What about you? Is there one big question
Yeah.
that you want to leave our listeners with?
If Endgame really is the end of an era,
Right, that's the question.
what comes next for superhero movies?
What do you think?
I think we're entering a really exciting time.
Okay.
The success of Endgame showed us that audiences want more from these stories. They don't want just good versus evil anymore.
Right, they want something deeper.
They want complex characters, thought-provoking themes,
Right.
emotional depth.
And I think filmmakers are going to deliver.
I think so, too.
I think we're going to see them pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, try new things.
And surprising us in ways we can't even imagine.
It's going to be exciting.
Well, on that note,
Okay.
it's time to say goodbye to Endgame.
For now.
At least for now.
But who knows? Maybe we'll revisit this topic in a few years.
Yeah, I'd like that.
See how our perspectives have changed.
Until then, happy viewing, everyone.
Yeah.
And may your deep dives be filled with insightful discoveries.